What's up, Herminators? Hermes here. So today I'm gonna show you guys an Ore Rogue deck because I know a lot of you guys have been asking me to do an updated guide on it because my last guide on the Ore Rogue deck has been really outdated because Blackrock Mountain came out. And also I deeply apologize for not posting for the past 2 weeks. I have been fairly busy, but throughout the past 2 weeks I have found somebody to help me out with the content on my channel. I will be introducing him on Wednesday because we just finished our recording 2 days ago. We did like a little podcast where we talk about the meta and Hearthstone in general and all those crazy decks that came out. So it's gonna be tons of fun and I had a lot of fun doing it, so definitely stay tuned for that. So this deck list right here is Hype's Ore Rogue deck, and when you look at this deck it looks really different from the other Ore Rogue decks because for one, it's only running one Tinker Sharpsword Oil, one Big Game Hunter, and of course we see the Emperor Turizin, which is a new addition to the deck after Blackrock Mountain release, and there's nothing really much changed from the deck in general because we still have all the other core cards. So if you haven't watched my previous Ore Rogue videos, this is how you play the Ore Rogue. You want as much board control as possible so you have at least 1 minion on the board that you can combo Tinker Sharpsword Oil with. Even if you don't combo Tinker Sharpsword Oil, you have enough minions on the board to do tons of damage to the face as long as you get board control. And eventually you have enough spells in your hand to eventually burst them down. What I mean is like you have Eviscerate, Deadly Poison, Tinker Sharpsword Oil of course, and also Blade Flurry. Let's say you have like a really high attack weapon with Deadly Poison and Tinker Sharpsword Oil, you hit them in the face once and you quickly Blade Flurry after, you're doing twice the damage. So let's say I have a dagger out and I use 2 Deadly Poison, that makes it 5 attack, and adding another Tinker Sharpsword Oil, that would be 8 attack, and I just Blade Flurry after hitting the face. That'll be a total of 16 damage, but we're not including the damage on the board as well, so it can easily be over 20 damage in one turn. Especially now that we have Prep in the deck, it makes it a lot easier to use all those spells, including Eviscerate, all in one turn, which is pretty insane. But this deck is a little different from the original Ore Rogue deck because we're not running 2 Tinker Sharpsword Oil, so we do lose out on that potential burst damage. So instead we're running Dr. Boom. I know a lot of people don't like running 2 Tinker Sharpsword Oil, so running a Dr. Boom can make the deck more consistent. And they're fairly similar anyways because Tinker Sharpsword Oil and Dr. Boom both sit in your hand until the late game where you can combo Tinker Sharpsword Oil or play Dr. Boom on turn 7 to gain board pressure. So there's one card that we don't see much often in Ore Rogue, and that's the Big Game Hunter, and I don't really see much either, and I sorta don't like using it, but I can see why this card is good in this deck because usually when people play out Dr. Boom against me when I'm playing Rogue, I can't really handle it because it's really rare for me to get a 7+ attack dagger so that I can Blade Flurry to wipe out his whole board. So yeah, that's pretty much the only problem there. So Big Game Hunter really solves that for us. So we run a lot of sticky creatures in this deck so that we can keep up the board pressure while also eventually comboing with the Tinker Sharpsword Oil. We have Pilot Shredder. It's a 4-drop for 4/3, which is really strong already, but when it dies it spawns a 2-cost minion. Sometimes the 2-cost minion can be game changing for both sides. Like let's say I get a Doomsayer or something stupid like Ancient Watcher, they're totally useless to me. But then if I get something like Millhouse Manastorm or a Succubus, all the power to me because those are such strong 2-drops, especially spawning out of a Pilot Shredder. So Violet Teacher is another strong 4-drop in this deck because it's 3/5, and when you use a spell, it spawns a 1/1 Violet Apprentice, which is not hard to do because we have tons of spells. The only problem I have with this card is that when you Tinker Sharpsword Oil with the Violet Teacher, the 3 attack that the Tinker Sharpsword Oil gives to a minion might go to the spawn Violet Apprentice, which sucks because it cannot attack and you lose out on the 3 damage, which prevents us from pushing for lethal at times. But RNG does play a factor in this game, so we can't do anything about that. Loatheb is like another sticky creature in this deck because your opponent can't really remove it as spells because any spell costs 5 more next turn. So your opponent really needs to trade into Loatheb in order to remove it. But since Rogue is so good at clearing the board, Loatheb is pretty much a guaranteed body on the field if you play it. So pretty much I want to play this card when I have the Tinker Sharpsword Oil ready after I play Loatheb so that I can guarantee 12 damage to the face, including my 4 dagger. Emperor Turizin is a new addition to this deck because this card is totally insane because it reduces the cost of cards in my hand by 1 mana each turn. So this effect is continuous, so potentially my hand can be cost all 0 if this card stays on the board. Some people like to save Emperor Tourism so that it stays on the board for more than one turn. Usually how I use this card is when I play on turn 6. Sometimes I pretend it's a 5/5 taunt, so my opponent needs to trade into it or use removals to remove this card. And if I mulligan to this card early, I usually like to try to keep the board clear so that I can play on turn 6 so it lasts more than one turn, which is also insane at the same time. So Emperor Tourism is such a fine addition to this deck. So this deck, you pretty much want to draw into all your cards so that you can burst your opponent down, and we can do that with certain cards like Preparation with Sprint, making it cost 4 mana, so pretty much you're getting a mana per card, which is pretty sick at the same time and a lot of value. We use Phantom Knights to cycle and use it as an AoE board clear against aggro matchups. We also have Blood Mage Dalnos when it's removed. We also cycle a card, Azure Drake, a 5-drop for 4/4, giving us a decent body while also giving us tempo at the same time. So this is Hype's Aura Rogue deck, and I don't really like playing this deck that much because it's not really my style, because it doesn't have that much burst potential. I really love Aura Rogue that has more and more burst potential because at some points I really need that clutch burst in order to beat my opponent. So I like to do some substitutions in this deck. So for Big Game Hunter, I like to remove this for a Self-Seed deckhand. You can replace Big Game Hunter with Edwin Van Cleef or Piloted Shredder because both of those cards bring out a lot of damage on the board. So it's a fine substitution as well. You can even replace Big Game Hunter with Shade of Naxxramas if you want to. The reason why I want Self-Seed deckhand is because I want the instant burst. So if I want instant burst, right, I want to replace Dr. Boom and bring back the Tinker Sharp Sword Oil so that I get more instant damage and more burst potential, because I love that burst potential. Another card I want to substitute is the Pilot Shredder. I don't really like Pilot Shredder that much because I really want another source of healing, so I want to replace this Pilot Shredder with Antique Healbot, just so I stand a chance against the Face Hunter at times, because a lot of the time Face Hunter is a really hard matchup for the Aura Rogue because we keep killing ourselves with the weapon that we use to do efficient trades. So at times Antique Healbot can really give us the clutch heal that we need against the Face Hunter or any aggro matchups really, or any control matchups, because sometimes we're not in the safe zone like against Druids where we're below 14 health, or we're below 12 health against the Warrior where they can use the Grommash and Taskmaster combo, stuff like that. The last two substitutions I'm going to do might look really weird to you guys, but I actually have a lot of success with it because I climbed to rank 4 with this decklist and continue climbing as well. So substitution I'm going to do is remove one Lothar, and I'm going to put in an Assassin's Blade. The reason why I'm running Assassin's Blade is because it helps me out a lot in the control matchups, and there is no Harrison Jones in the ladder currently. The only the only decks that run Harrison is probably Control Warrior and Druids. But since Control Warriors are running the Dragon decklist, they don't really run Harrison Jones anymore, but the Blackwing Corruptor, which allows them to have even more tempo. Druids sometimes run Harrison and not really at the same time, so I feel like it's safe to play Assassin's Blade, and it really helps out with the control matchups. And since the Control Warrior is one of the harder matchups for the Rogue, Assassin's Blade won me a lot of games against them. The last substitution I'm going to make is removing Emperor Tourism for Harrison Jones. I know this might be strange to you guys because you guys would go like, why would you do that? Emperor Tourism is such a strong card in this deck, and I understand the fact that Emperor Tourism does reduce all the cards' mana cost every turn, but Harrison Jones is really good in the current meta right now because we see a lot of Paladins, Grim Patron Warriors, Control Warriors, Mirror matchups, and also the Hunter. They all use weapons, and Harrison Jones allows us to gain tempo by removing that weapon and giving us card draw at the same time. And if you use Harrison Jones against the Mirror matchup, it would be really detrimental to them, and you're already ahead. So the last card I'm going to talk about is the Dark Iron Skulker. I know a lot of people have been thinking about putting it in the Aura Rogue deck. I didn't think it was that good. I tried it out and sometimes it's a dead card to me, and 5-drop for 4/3 is not that good as well because it's easily removed. But if you do want to put it in the deck, you can remove either Antique Healbot, Harrison Jones, or even Assassin's Blade for it. It's okay, it's really good against the board control aggro matchups, but not the face hunter, because face hunter doesn't really care if you remove it, because once it hits your face, they already got value out of it. But overall, this is my deck list, and I think it's very strong in the meta right now. I'm going to show you guys some gameplay videos of how to play this deck and why it is so strong and suitable for the current meta. So some people say that the Druid matchup is like pretty hard when you're playing Rogue, but I don't really think so. I think it's almost like 50-50. So I'll put back Earthen Ring Farseer so I can use a heal later possibly. I don't really need it right now. I need some other cards. So Druid has a really slow start and a very fast mid and late game. So what we really want to do is we really want to pick cards that we can use almost instantly against those creatures that he plays out early on in the game. So we don't really want Earthen Farseer, nor Blade Flare, nor Preparation. We need stuff like SI Agent, Backstab, especially Sap, because just in case he innovates something, I can at least put it back in his hand. So what I really didn't want here is actually Sprint. Sprint is actually pretty terrible here, but Azure Drake is really nice because we can use it in the mid game and draw cards at the same time. Especially we can synergize with the Backstab and remove something that's 3 health. Having a Violet Teacher is also good too, because those 1/1s can be really terrifying to the Druid, and the 3/5 is pretty hard for them to take out. So right now I can't really do anything. I'll just make a dagger and probably just end my turn. I don't really want to use my dagger to hit face because I'm probably not going to remake the dagger next turn. I'm probably just going to use Fan of Knives to cycle through. So he can't really do anything either, even playing Wild Growth. So he just hits me in the face. It's not really a big deal. So I'm just going to Fan of Knives here to cycle through my deck so that I can draw something better. Luckily I drew into SI Agent, which is pretty good. Let's say he plays Keeper of the Grove, I can Backstab into SI Agent to remove it quite cleanly, so which is not bad. Now he plays a Sludge Belcher, which is pretty bad for me at least. So right now, luckily I drew into a Preparation. Now I can just like play Azure Drake and then prep into Eviscerate to clear that Sludge Belcher. So that's pretty nice. Now I have to think about if I really want to use my Backstab onto that that slime there. I can, and there's a possible like move that where he can Wrath into my Azure Drake and trade in the slime, but I don't think it's actually worth using the Backstab on the slime. It does lose me board control, but at the same time I don't think I really need to do that. So he does Wrath and slime and trade the slime into my Azure Drake, so I do lose a bit of board control here. So the Pilot Shredder is actually pretty troublesome and it's not that good for me. So right now I have to think of a play. So luckily I have another Azure Drake so that I can Backstab and synergize it with it because of the spell power, so I can instantly remove with just a Backstab, so I don't have to waste any more other resources. And I'm not very lucky here. He got a Patient Assassin out of it. So his RNG is pretty good, so I'm still going to lose board control because that Patient Assassin is probably going to take out my Azure Drake and give me a hard time in this game. So his RNG is pretty good this game. I was actually pretty salty, and I'm still salty now watching this again. Like, how the hell do you even get a Patient Assassin? Like, it's not like this is like the first time. Man, I feel so salty right now. I'll finish my rant right now. So he plays Emperor Terzin. Pretty bad because he just cleared my Drake with the Patient Assassin. Feeling pretty sad here. Don't know how I'm gonna clear that. Well, I do know how to clear that, but it's not pretty, so I'm just gonna Violet Teacher, Eviscerate, make a dude, and use my face to trade it into the Emperor Terzin. I don't want him to having like a deadly combo that costs like almost nothing. So right now he plays Keeper of the Grove and silences my Violet Teacher. That's a pretty good play for him. He won't have any 1/1s that he needs to deal with, and I can't use my 1/1s to do efficient trades. I drew into Assassin's Blade, which I'm gonna use later to do a tons of burst damage. Since I'm already at high health, I think I should sprint here. It's like not that bad. Let's see what I draw into. Violet Teacher, Tinker, Earthen Ring, and Blood Mage. It's not really a good hand. I guess I'll use my SI Agent here to trade into the whatchamacallit, the Druid of the Claw, and trade in my Violet Teacher and use my face into the Druid of the Claw. And he doesn't have that many cards in his hand either. He only has 3, and if he uses Swipe here, I don't really mind. It's because he doesn't have that many cards in his hand left, so it's really less likely he'll have combo 2. That's why I'm using my face, although I'm at 20 health, which is not that bad. And I can use Antique and T Keelbot and also Earthen Ring Farseer to gain back up to 28 health. Oh damn, he did top deck Ancient of Lore, so he is gonna draw 2 more cards, which gives him the potential of drawing into combo. But I'm not in combo range, so I'm not that scared at the moment. So he does innervate something. Is that a swipe? Oh, he drew swipe from the Ancient of Lore too, which is bad. Wow, that sucks. He got so many good draws. So I drew a lot of burst damage with, like, in these past couple of turns. I have Assassin's Blade and 2 Tinker Sharp Sword Oil. That's definitely going to be my win condition eventually. So right here, I'm probably going to use my Tinker Sharp Sword Oil and trade into the Ancient of Lore and wipe out this whole board, because even if I use all my healing, and if he has combo, he'll still take me out with those 2 creatures, so I might as well just wipe out his board, because I'm a dead man walking anyways, right? So might as well just wipe out his board, and rather than just healing, because healing really has no use there. So right now he's probably going to draw for answers. He really needs his combo or he's really going to lose. So Shade of Naxxramas is actually pretty annoying here. I had to put up pressure so he would unshade that. So I'm possibly going to put out all my healing cards just so I get out of combo range and pressure that Shade out of its freaking stealth, because it's annoying me like crazy. And let's say that Nax, or Shade of Naxxramas doesn't come out of stealth, right? I can still get rid of it with a Blade Flurry plus Tinker Sharp Sword Oil and stuff like that. So it's not really a big deal. And then I can slowly wither him away with the Assassin's Blade, because Assassin's Blade is pretty strong here. Let's just hope he doesn't have Harrison Jones, because Harrison Jones would be pretty detrimental to me. But I don't think he runs Harrison Jones, because he would have already used it by now. And he's just top decking, so I think it's really less likely he has Harrison Jones in his hand, unless he really top stacks it, and that's really sad at the same time. So I did drop Deadly Poison. More damage for me. Holy crap. So let's see here. I'm probably going to use Tinker Sharp Sword Oil. And I believe I made a slight misplay here because I was playing a bit too fast. I should have played the, the Blood Mage Thalnos first in order to use my combo with the Tinker Sharp Sword Oil, but I missed out on that 3 damage, so which is pretty bad at the same time. So I did make a misplay here, so I shouldn't really play that fast at the same time, but next turn I can push out 5 damage each turn for 3 turns straight, I think, or 3 or 4 turns. I forgot how much durability my Assassin's Blade has. I think it's 3. So I have 15 damage in total, which is pretty insane. Or 20 if it's for durability. But I have 6 and 7 on the board, so he does play the Force of Nature. So he did have Force of Nature in his hand. He just top decked Savage Warrior, which is not that bad because he doesn't have lethal range. So he just goes all for face here. So in my opinion, he has Druid of Claw in his hand with like Savage War maybe, or maybe not Savage War, maybe he just have Druid of Claw with like Hero to Grow, but I have lethal this turn anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So I do like 5 damage to phase with like SI Agent and exact lethal. But I did miss out on 3 damage, so that was pretty bad. So I could have lost this turn because I missed out on that 3 damage. Because if I did draw SI Agent, I would have lost, in my opinion. So I'm against a Warlock. So right here, I'm probably going to mulligan for the Zoo because that is the harder matchup. So I'm not going to keep Sprint or Sap. That would be good against Handlock, but I don't know what kind of matchup this is. So this is sort of a pretty bad hand at the same time, so I can't really use any of these cards almost instantly. Maybe if my hand does turn out even worse, I will use the, like, put down the Blood Mage Thalnos, but, well, he plays the Flame Imp. Well, why wouldn't he? And, like, they always get the Flame Imp for some reason. Okay, so I drew it to SI Agent. That is good. I can use a coin on turn 2 and then kill it off. And let's see what he's gonna play next. The Voidwalker, that's excellent, for me at least, because if I kill off the Flame Imp with my SI Agent can easily counter out the Void Caller. Not bad, not bad. Pretty easy. Pretty good stuff, going smoothly so far. And my hand doesn't look too hot right now is because I have Harrison Jones and Azure Drakes. I can't play them in like until the next 2 turns. So next turn I'm probably going to use my dagger or maybe use it with a deadly poison to trade. I did draw sap. I'm probably going to use sap, like trade my SI into the Void Walker and then use sap it so he loses tempo. As long as the Warlock loses tempo, I'm in a good position, so that I think that's the play I'm going to do. So even when I sap the, the Imp Gang boss, I still have to figure out a way of how to clear it cleanly so that it doesn't spawn that many 1/1s. I guess 2 1/1s is okay, but I don't think even next turn I can clear it out cleanly unless I have Eviscerate, because even if I dagger and deadly poison it, it will leave like 2 1/1s after the Imp Gang, no, 3 1/1s after the Imp Gang boss is dead. Oh my god, he even plays a Leopard Gnome. Oh, that's gonna be so annoying. Another deadly poison. I'm fairly tempted to use double deadly poison onto the Imp Gang boss just so it only spawns 1 1/1. And I can save the 5 attack dagger with 1 durability for Blade Flurry, and I have a lot of ways to clear out that Leopard Gnome as well, because I'm going to eventually draw into it, right? Like, so I can, next turn I can play a Zerdrake. I'm probably not going to trade my SI agent here. I'm probably going to hit the 1/1, not into the Leopard Gnome, because if value trade, right? Because the Leopard Gnome still needs to trade into my SI agent. If this guy just goes face, then I think that's totally wrong, because I can easily get rid of that Leopard Gnome in some way and somehow. But I'm clearly not going to use my 5 attack dagger onto it, right? Because I lose tons of value for that. But a Zerdrake will probably allow me to draw into something pretty good, in my opinion, like a high possibility of a removal like Backstab or something like that, or even Fan of Knives. If I draw into Fan of Knives with a Zerdrake, I can easily prep that in. It gives me tempo and also board clear. And he's gonna lose so much tempo if he doesn't trade into my SI agent if I draw into the Fan of Knives with the Zerdrake. So he does tap here. Yeah, he does need card advantage. He does need to draw into many burst damage and stuff like that. So, whoa. So he hits my face. Yes, I believe he hits my face. I got Antique Healbot. I'm not really at low health, so I'm not really going to use Antique Healbot. I'm probably going to try draw something good with a Zerdrake, and I did. So I drew a Backstab. I'm probably going to Backstab the Void Walker, just because I don't want my SI to die to any... Like, I don't want my SI to die to the Void Walker, because 3 damage is pretty good to the face in this scenario. And he's sort of forced to trade into my creatures as well, because I have a pretty good board at the moment, unless he's holding on to an Implosion, which could be quite bad at the same time. Yeah, I'm pretty much sure gonna Backstab that Void Caller, and I'm probably gonna use the SI agent to hit the Leopard Gnome just in case, because this guy might have the Implosion in his hand, and if it hits my SI agent for 4, then it's gonna be pretty bad, because I don't have any AoE clears. So I am gonna trade my SI agent to the Leopard Gnome, although the face sort of seems good, but the Implosion really makes it 10 times more riskier, and it's probably gonna swing the board to his favor. So he just top decked the Implosion. How much luck did this guy have? But luckily it hit 2. Whoa, this is pretty bad for me. Oh, the Direwolf Alpha traded into my Zerdrake pretty well. So I did draw a Self-Seed deckhand. I might even use the Self-Seed deckhand to do some trades here, but I am going to play the Antique Healbot just so I get some board on the field, and probably going to use my Self-Seed deckhand to trade into Direwolf Alpha to cut out like 4 damage, because in my opinion that Direwolf Alpha represents 4 damage because it's buffing up 2 minions and itself is 2 damage. So I did cut out like 4 damage right there, and which is pretty good, and it allows me to stall long enough. Maybe I'll draw into Blade Flurry eventually to wipe out his whole board, because I still have my 5 attack dagger. Blade Flurry is pretty much gonna win me the game, so I am gonna risk for that. So let's see if I'm gonna draw into it soon. Oh my god, Defender of Argus. Wow, it makes it 10 times more annoying for me, and I might even lose the game because of this. So I do really need the Blade Flurry. And I do have Sprint, so I'm actually going to prep and sprint this right away, because this is such a good play right now, because I can easily draw into Blade Flurry. And I got Backstab too, and there's the Blade Flurry. I'm going to use it immediately, almost immediately, but yeah, immediately. It's too good to be true, right? I could do some smaller trades with the Backstab, but it's not really good. I can't clear out anything. I'm probably going to take tons of damage for that. Doing a Blade Flurry is 10 times better. So he is going to tap for more damage and more cards. Void Caller. Ford Call is really scary here. This guy might be holding Mal'Ganis or something because he is holding a card that this guy did not play yet. It could be something like a Power of the Overwhelming or Mal'Ganis, because if it's Mal'Ganis, then it's pretty bad because I can't really handle that card. I might want to Eviscerate just so that I can figure out what that card is and potentially handle it. But even if it's Mal'Ganis, it wouldn't be too big of a deal because I'm at a very high health right now. So let's see what it is. So it's just an Imp Gank boss. Oh, okay, so it's not that bad. He didn't have any really good demons in his hand. The other card probably isn't a demon. It's probably like Power of the Overwhelming or something. Because it's that fit, or I'm just really that lucky and I hit the 50-50. That was pretty bad. What? This was turn 9, so Mal'Ganis would have been really good here in my opinion, and he still didn't play it, so he doesn't have Mal'Ganis, so there's nothing really that threatening in his hand. If he had Power of the Overwhelming, he's probably going to use the Haunted Creeper to trade into my Azure Drake, which would be a really good play for him, because he also gets like 2/1/1s with like a 2/4 on the board, but I can easily take care of that. Next turn I can easily play Harrison Jones and Eviscerate the Imp Gank boss if I really want to, or I can just prep and sprint as well, because I can get immediate card draw from that. So he's gonna owl my whatchamacallit, the Blood Mage Thalanos, and he's gonna trade into my Azure. Okay, this is not bad because I can handle the Doomguard quite easily, and I did draw Sap. So I'm gonna prep and sprint here to see like what my options are. It's good to see what my options are. I need to find a cleaner way to get rid of this board, but unfortunately I didn't draw into anything that good. So I'm possibly going to Eviscerate that Doomguard because that Doomguard is pretty threatening. Probably gonna heal myself first and then Eviscerate the Doomguard. At least I have a 3/3 on the board to do efficient trades, right? If the Imp Gank boss doesn't do any trading or like doesn't trade into my Farseer, I can easily like Tinker Sharp Soil Oil and just trade that up so that it just spawns like 1/1/1, but that would be so greedy if he did that. And even if he trades the Imp Gank boss into my Farseer, I can easily use a Fan of Knives to clear his entire board with my dagger, because I can poke the Haunted Creeper. Okay, never mind. He played Lothab, which is pretty shitty. My god. So Lothab is actually pretty good here for him because I can't use any spells to get rid of stuff on his board. Let's see how he's gonna trade this. So, wow, that's a really weird trade. Oh, so, okay, this guy doesn't want to pop the Haunted Creeper. That's reasonable, I can say that's reasonable. But I can still use Fan of Knives here. Like, I can just use the dagger to poke the Haunted Creeper and use Fan of Knives to wipe out majority of his board. Even though I can't get rid of Lothab, which is pretty bad at the same time. But I got out most of the damage, or most of the minions on his board. So I did draw into Eviscerate, which is pretty good. Next turn I can either play Harrison Jones into Eviscerate or Violet Teacher into Eviscerate. I think Violet Teacher into Eviscerate is pretty good. I have Sap for the Warlock to lose tempo. Whoa, now he's at 10 health. I have Lethal next turn with just Tinker Sharp Soil Oil alone with like Eviscerate. Actually, did I already have Lethal? Let's see, 7. No, actually no, he actually gave me Lethal by tapping. Well, I guess this guy has to risk everything, right? Because he's not gonna win. I think he sort of knows I have a lot of burst potential in my hand because I did draw a lot of cards, right? So let's see. Yeah, I did BM a little bit here. I'm not really a BM type of guy though, so this is probably gonna happen once in a while if I get frustrated with RNG from last game. So yeah, this is my Aura Rogue deck. I believe it has like a lot of potential because it's actually climbing me pretty fast at the moment. So definitely give it a shot and tell me how it goes. And also stay tuned for the podcast on Wednesday that I'm gonna do with my friend, because it's gonna be tons of fun because I had a lot of fun recording it as well. So stay tuned and I'll see you next time, Herminators.